Good morning. I hope everyone had a good weekend. I hope everyone's ready for the last full week of classes for the semester. And I hope everyone's enjoying Trail of Lightning. Um, I am enjoying rereading the sections of it as I'm getting ready to teach, and I'm finding it a rather compelling read. Quick reminder about what's coming up. Group B is in class today. Group A is in class on Wednesday. Group B is back here on Friday. Please remember that we have the quiz over Trail of Lightning. And please remember that the final paper is due May 8th at noon. One of the paper topics is characterization. And a lot of the questions about characterization really boil down to what kind of person is Maggie? Who walks around carrying that big, huge Boker Bowie switchblade or Bowie hunting knife? Um, you know, and look, this has a huge kind of question, and this is a sort of question that is dealt with in a lot of novels, including adolescent literature novels like Holes. For example, in Holes, there's a phrase, something to the effect of the reader is probably more concerned about Stanley's character. In this case, I think it's the same thing. What is Maggie's character? The reader should be concerned, I think, about Maggie's character. Who is this person? I think one of the ways to look at it is this link between Maggie and the word girl. On page 14, she makes this statement: I forgot all about the girl. Now, the girl in question looks a lot like her. Same hair, same skin tone, same facial structure. And notice that the girl was infected because of the monster. And notice that Maggie was told by Nesgahani that she too has been infected by the monsters. Even though the witches that came and killed her grandmother uh, did not bite her or harm her, the evil that those witches brought did cause her um, a lot of pain. Okay, and it's an emotional pain and it's an emotional evil that touches her. Maggie, it seems, remembers that she may have been infected, but she seems to have forgotten being the girl that this one reminds her of. And notice that the cruelty seems to run through the novel. Coyote, the first time he runs into her, we talked about Coyote's clothes in the trickster section, is dressed in the white man's frontier dandy when he's visiting the Navajo girl, but he's being cruel. And to remind her of the land agents and the con men, and to remind her that he can sort of push evil upon her, is indeed an act of cruelty. But notice here she calls herself specifically a Navajo girl. She is going back to the girl, not the woman, not the monster, not the monster slayer, but the girl. Maggie refers to herself as the girl. Maggie identifies as the girl. And as you're writing the paper, perhaps one of the things to think about is, why does this matter? What does this say about her? How does this contrast with her monster killer, monster slayer image? How does this contrast with her falling in lust with Kai? How does this help develop the character? What does the term girl mean in context of dealing with Coyote? Later on, we have this Coyote again prodding her and doing the phrase eaten up. And again, remember, the girl was chewed up. Okay. And so once again, we have these links, and we have Maggie being a character who is faced harm. For example, evil had touched her. This eaten up. It's a term we use usually for somebody who is emotionally harmed. This thing ate me up. The feelings ate me up. And so Coyote is prodding her as somebody who is, again, harmed, damaged. So, how do we deal with Maggie as a girl, which has the connotations of innocence? And how do we deal with Maggie as somebody who has been touched by evil and somebody who has been eaten up? And so, somebody who is hurting and therefore is lacking innocence. I think there's also this idea of taking a look at Coyote and how Coyote brings her back to the being the girl. I shudder at the blast of fury that pours from his body. For a moment, the pretense of the Western gentleman falters, and I glimpse his true form under that facade. Shaggy, gray and brown muzzle, yellow, dull eyes, a mouthful of teeth meant for tearing carrion. He fills the room frightening and unnatural, and I am back at that fire, a child of 15. The fact that she once again, in the face of true evil, gets pushed back to the child seems to indicate perhaps that there's more innocence in her than guilt. There's more innocence in her than evil. There's more innocence in her than whatever it is that has been eating at her. This is a bit of foreshadowing, but it is also, I think, a bit about the girl. Notice that Coyote, that leaves only the girl. And she doesn't know if he means Addie. And so she asks, "What about the girl?" And then he does this such a monster. And so we're getting this hint that Coyote knows much more than he is talking about. But once again, he is prodding and he is pushing and he is linking Maggie and the innocent girl from the start of the book. And so once again, is Maggie the innocent girl? Is Maggie the girl who was eaten and kind of destroyed and kind of killed, not physically, but spiritually, emotionally by the monsters? And he does it one more time. The ones who devour young girls. Magdalena, Maggie, favors the hunt. She favors going after the ones who devour young girls. So now she is almost being pushed by the term girl into the monster slayer mode. So we have monster, touched by evil, monster slayer, the ones who hunt young girls and the ones she hunts, and innocent, and emotionally, physically, spiritually tainted. The link to the girl does a lot of work here. And so, as you take a look at this link to the girl, what is the work that has been accomplished here? Okay? A braver girl, a smarter girl would fight, would take that knife and use it against the witch, find a way to kill them all and save her grandmother, be the hero. But I'm not that girl. I'm slow and dumb and can't even hold a knife in my shivering hand. But again, remember, this is the incident that got Maggie her clan powers to manifest, that turned her into the monster slayer. She does eventually kill the witches. But before that, she's the girl. And I think you're hearing me say this a lot. You're hearing me repeat this a lot. The term girl in this novel does a lot of work describing Maggie's journey and describing who Maggie is. As we keep going, Nesgahani leaves. She is left alone. The kind that steal girls and eat their flesh, going back again to the beginning of the novel. And Maggie talking about a girl eating a little girl from the inside. This is what's happening to her. So once again, she is being linked to monsters. She is being linked to emotional pain eaten from the inside and the physical pain of having to deal with little girls being killed by monsters or grandmothers being killed by monsters. I think it's important here that there's two ways of devouring, that this novel doesn't just take the physical. This novel talks about emotional and spiritual as well. And Maggie deals with the physical world and the emotional and spiritual world. Maggie deals with the world of her time, the world where the reservation is protected from the big water, that world, and the world of the gods, a world where humans aren't supposed to be. All right. And then when she kills Longarm, and there's the dream and all the things that she has done. Notice again the killing of Longarm, linking that to the little girl. That story can't go back and forth. She can't ever escape being the little girl. But at the end, notice that she has grown. At the end, notice she is not a desperate little girl. She is somebody who thinks she can hold her own, or at least give it a shot of holding her own against Nesgahani. Notice that Nesgahani is the one who's made sure she's not the desperate little girl. But even so, while she's not the desperate little girl, we find out that when she was a little girl, before she got her clan powers, she was bait for Nesgahani, and as such, she was bait for, she was a little girl beset by flesh-eating monsters, so she was the target of the bait. Coyote uses the same thing to get Nesgahani, except Maggie is the little girl there, and she uses the little girl to get Maggie back into the monster slaying thing. The story comes full circle. Maggie as the bait, Maggie as the target of the bait. And then finally, Maggie is able to save herself. If you're taking a look at this quotation from page 281, there's a little girl I need to save. She was attempting to save a little girl at the start of the novel. She is going full circle, back to being a little girl who is saving herself here at the end of the novel. And as a little girl saving herself at the end of the novel, all right, she is choosing herself over Nesgahani. She is choosing herself over Coyote. She is choosing herself and humans. And she is finally making the decision to sort of begin to heal herself. And it says that the little girl has been lost ever since. But by choosing to save herself, I think she is also choosing to find herself. And this becomes part of the character. When you do your paper, I don't want you to use all the quotations that I've put up in this presentation. But when you do your paper, I do want you to start thinking about what exactly is it that you want to have done here with Maggie and who she is. And I don't think you can write about Maggie without writing about the girl. I don't think you can write about the monster slayer without writing about how she became the monster slayer. And I don't think you can write about Maggie as a character who is flawed and Maggie as a character who is fighting inner demons without writing how Coyote and the witches, to some degree Nezgahani, but being the monster slayer created that, and how her first effort to heal herself is to return where she started and became the little girl. Daily writing today has 2 parts. Part number 1, go down to the comments, type hello Collis. That's it. That's part 1. Go to the comments, type hello Collis. Part 2, you're all supposed to be in class on Wednesday, or Group A is supposed to be in class on Wednesday. Group A is supposedly the ones watching this. Start writing a paragraph for the final paper. It can be an intro paragraph, it can be a body paragraph. It might be better even if you got 2 or 3 paragraphs done, so that we can start to have a larger writing lab and go over stuff for the final paper before it's due, and give everybody a shot to have a paper commented on just for a little bit ahead of when it's due. Hope everybody has a good Monday, and I hope to see you all in class on Wednesday.